everyone. Welcome to Breakthrough Conversations. My name is Danielle Perry, and I am the host. You know by now, I am so excited that you're tuned in today for a new episode of this podcast. And if this is your first time, this is a Christian podcast which features people of all ages, and they share a bit of their story about how God has helped them to overcome a difficult challenge, situation, or season in their lives, or maybe they're on their way to overcoming with God's help. And they do share authentically. Well, again, thank you so much for tuning in today. This is an episode, if you know me personally, that's near and dear to my heart. But y'all, today's episode features a sweet lady, a kind-hearted lady, Mrs. Phoelicia Blagman. And the title of this episode is My Journey with Infertility. Please, if you know any women out there who have a similar story, please share this with them so that they can be encouraged and know that they are not alone. So without further ado, y'all, here it is. Enjoy and be blessed. I have Mrs. Phoelicia Blagman on today. Did I say your last name? Okay, I said it right. Okay. Hey, Phoelicia.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm blessed. I'm good.
Awesome.
I'm good.
Awesome. Well, I am so glad that you are here today. And I know that we're going to talk about some things that I feel like other women can relate to. And I'm going to discover more about your story as we talk today. So before we delve into the questions, I want you to first just introduce yourself and tell a little bit about who you are.
Okay. As you already said, my name is Phoelicia Blagman. Mm-hmm. I am the daughter of Janice Marie Scott Rayner and John Henry Macon III. Okay. I am the wife of Barry Blagman. Mm-hmm. I am the mother of Eric and Jason Blagman, or should say Jason and Eric in their respective orders. Mm-hmm. And I am the nana to Aiden Blagman, Micaiah Blagman, and Michaela, my bonus granddaughter.
Okay. Yes. The Nana. So they call you Nana.
They call me Nana. Call you Nana. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And I am a sister and I am an aunt. I am a proud graduate of Morgan State University and a member of Living Waters Ministry.
Okay.
Yes.
I love it. So you talked a little bit about, you being a mom and a Nana and all of that. But talk about your childhood. Who were you as a little girl?
As a little girl, I'm mouthy. Mouthy. I am. So my father's the only boy between his parents. Okay. And my aunts all had boys, so I am the only girl. Okay. On my father's side, I am the only girl, so I was a tomboy. Okay. Because I was the only girl, but I also was a princess, so I had some things going on.
Gotcha.
On my mother's side, I am not the only. There are no boys. It is all girls. All girls. There's a couple of boys sprinkled in, but so the tomboy, I was really a tomboy who's now climbing what tree?
Right.
And being a southerner, walking on railroad tracks. Staying outside late because I am a Gen X and staying outside until we no longer could come in. Like street lights was coming on. And there were no street lights where I grew up because I lived down south. So there were only dirt roads.
And where'd you grow up again?
Goldsboro, North Carolina.
Okay.
I also stayed in Chattanooga, Tennessee. When my parents divorced at 7, we moved back to Goldsboro, North Carolina. Okay. I'm a Southern girl.
You're a Southern girl. I hear it. I hear the twang.
I try to keep it. I try to keep it.
So how long did you live in North Carolina before moving to Maryland?
So moved from Tennessee to North Carolina at 7. And then 7, stayed there at 7. My mom remarried. And we moved 8th grade. Okay. So whatever age that is, at that
about 13, 14. Okay.
So moved to Maryland at 13, to PG County, Maryland. Went to Francis Scott Key Middle School.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And then graduated from Suitland High School. Go Rams!
I have lots of friends who graduated from Suitland.
Yeah. And that was my teenage years. So I was shy in my teenage years because I moved so much. And for me, it was at important times ages. As I told my mother as I got older, like you're moving me right as, you know, you're learning to have friends and long-term friendships and, of course, boyfriends. But it's like, okay, you're moving me, and now I got to start all over.
Right.
And I had to start all over, but I was shy because I had like Southern accent. I'm also legally blind in my left eye, so I didn't know how to maneuver around because I didn't know anybody. So I was quiet, but not too quiet.
Okay.
And I did get friends. I met friends my very first day there because they were new. And then one of them, we're still friends.
Okay.
We're still friends to this day, my dearest friend. So high school, I maneuvered through it well.
Yeah.
My mom and her husband, my stepfather, they ended up having a baby, so I was no longer the only child.
Okay. How old were you when they had a baby?
14.
Yeah. Look, my sister and I are 14 years apart.
14.
I understand.
And my mother's like, oh, good. Y'all a good age. You I don't have to worry about anything. I'm like, yeah, right.
Right.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah.
That's a long gap, right?
It's a long gap, but I'm like, nope, that's not the truth. You know, we still have our beefs and all of that, but we have come into a good adult age and a good relationship as adults.
Good.
But yeah, so 14, I got a new sister, but I was happy not to be the only child. My father and my stepmother, though, I also have a brother, so I have several siblings. Instead of step siblings, but they're all my siblings.
Yeah.
So but I'm the oldest of all of them.
Oh, okay.
So, yes.
Okay, you're the oldest.
Yes, I'm the oldest. I actually have a sister named Phoelicia.
Oh, wow.
She's, of course, my stepsister, but she is, for me, she's my sister, and it's, of course, Felicia. So I have a sister. I have two sisters, 3 brothers.
Okay.
Yes.
2 sisters and 3 brothers.
Yes.
Okay. So what about church growing up? Did you grow up in church at all?
Of course. I'm a Southerner all the way. So grandfather was a deacon. Great-grandfather was a deacon in the church. Did not know my grandfather. So my great-grandfather was a deacon. My grandmother, who was still alive, grew up in the church. It still goes to the church that
I know that's
I
right.
attended.
Wow.
Did not get baptized there. One of my summer visits to my father in Tennessee, I got baptized as a young child. You know how they come into the neighborhood and they bring all the kids. You get on a bus. And
that's how it goes.
So
you get on the bus, and then would you go to the river?
You get on the bus and go to the church.
Oh, go to the church.
They were coming, of course, a wider church, and but they were bringing in kids that they knew weren't going. So I got on the bus with my cousin. Again, I'm the only girl, and I didn't come home with them because I got baptized, and so my cousins was like, Phoelicia didn't come home with us because she got baptized. I said, yeah, I got baptized. Yeah. So I got baptized at a young age. Yes, in Tennessee. Wow. And then I think I rededicated when I came back to North Carolina because I got in the choir. So always been in church. Have I always been in a relationship with God is what it is. But I've always been in church, yes.
But I like that you said that because there is a distinction,
it is
right?
A distinction.
Because you can go to church all your life, right? But not have a relationship with God.
Right.
So there is a distinction, and we'll talk about that too.
Okay.
So, all right, so you did grow up in church.
Yes.
So what about college? Who were you as a young woman in college?
Still shy. And as I said before, crybaby. Like you could hurt my feelings because I moved around so much. I didn't really know my own identity. I didn't get to establish my identity because I just would sit and observe because that was better for me just to be quiet, be in the room and just observe who was. So I was learning myself in college. But I also fell in love my freshman year. So
you fell in love your freshman year?
Fell in love my freshman year. Okay. We ended up getting married, but I fell in love the second semester of my freshman year.
Wow.
So, had friends, PK, Glenn, PK being my first roommate in college. Yeah. And then Lynn, our neighbor next door. Again, people in my life that are still in my life.
Yeah, they're still in your life, yeah.
But I was shy. I was quiet. Now, people in class might be like, no, Felicia's not quiet. So I'm an introvert, extrovert. Like, people that know me know that I have my moments.
Yeah.
But I also just know how to sit back and just so.
Okay.
But very studious. Not smart, just studious. Like, I was going to get my work
He's going to get it done. He's going to pass.
I was going to get it done. I was passing, man. There was some class I didn't, but I was about business. I was here for a reason. I needed to get my work done. But again, I was also in love, so so it was all about him too.
It was all about him.
Yes, but I made sure I graduated on time.
On time.
Yes, I was out of there. I'm like, I'm tired.
Yeah.
I'm ready to get out.
Yeah.
My mother's like, I'm not paying for another year of college.
That's right.
You need to get out.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So you said that you ended up marrying your boyfriend.
Yes.
So at what age did you get married?
6 months out of college, so I was 21.
Oh, wow. 21.
Yes.
Wow.
Because again, I grew up in church.
Uh-huh.
And he's like, it's cheaper just to move in together. I'm like, you're not moving in. We need to be married.
Ain't no shacking.
No shacking. So we got married.
Yeah.
Got married. And so
wow.
Happy for 17 years. Happy for 10 and the next 7 or something.
Okay.
Yeah, it was just surviving.
Okay.
But yeah,
all
I married my college sweetheart. He didn't go to Morgan, but yes.
17 years.
17 years.
All right. So I want you to talk about when you got married, right? Were you thinking about children at all at 21?
Probably thinking of children when I was small. We as women, well, most women, you know the order is I'm getting married, I'm going to have babies. So that was it. Oh, I'm getting married. 6 months out of college, I'm getting married. Oh, now the babies start. You're going to have babies. And it's like, okay. 5 years in, no babies.
And you're trying.
And we're trying. Don't know why. Had names picked out. All of that. I was like, oh, I want a girl. Of course, I'm not in church, so it's like
okay. So you're not in church.
We're not in church. I'm not in church.
Okay.
So yes, I grew up in church, but I was not in a church when I first got married at all. Still, so there was definitely no relationship. There was no fellowship.
Got you.
So doing my own thing. So I was like, okay. God's like, oh, I got you. I got you. Okay, you want this family. So no, we didn't conceive. We did end up going to doctors. My husband had a slight problem that his was easy to fix.
Okay.
I suffered with fibroids. Those needed to be fixed, but for some reason, I mean, that's an easy fix also. Still was not able to conceive. And there was no really rhyme or reason, but God, God knew it all. So,
okay.
Yeah.
So what about as more time passes and you're trying to conceive, because you said you were married for 17 years,
Yes.
right? So let's talk about when you get into your 30s. How was that for you?
It became rough because I think that's when the testing began. That's when we kind of like, okay, it's been a while. We've been married a while. Let's go test. And that's when he got tested. That's when I kind of figured out, I had the fibroids.
Okay. So that was in your 30s you found out you had the fibroids.
Yes. I kind of found out in 20s, but we really needed to get one removed. I literally had to go through surgery to get one removed. Had a doctor was like, oh, no, you just need to have a hysterectomy. And I was like, I'm only in my 30s. No.
Right.
And that was the first time I had to advocate for myself. It's like, I'm going to need a second opinion. And I made him recommend someone. And that doctor was like, why would he recommend a hysterectomy?
Right.
Well, one, he was German. They just want to make sure we are not able to conceive anymore. But the new doctor, he was like, it's on a stem. We can snip it. Do a myonectomy, you'll be fine. Okay. So I did the myonectomy. I was out for a month from work, and we were good. So that, but then my marriage was also going down the hill, going down. My mother-in-law had passed. So my husband, he was, he loved his mom. That's all, and so he had to deal with that. by now I am in church.
Okay.
Because I did find a church and was very active in church.
Okay.
And so that also, for me, took precedence because I didn't have children. So it's like, let me fill my time up with that. But my husband was not in church.
Okay.
So that kind of did the divide from my end. His was going through the loss of his mom and dealing with all of that. So we just kind of fell apart at that time. So pregnancy was not, I still wanted to have a baby, but I didn't want to have a baby would that save my marriage. And God was like, that's not going to save anything. And I really needed to start depending on him. He really needed me to trust him, believe in him, and I had to do that.
Okay. So once you got divorced, how old were you?
40.
You were 40.
Divorce was found at 41.
40, okay.
Yes, but we separated 2 weeks before I turned 40.
Okay, yes. 2 weeks before you turned 40.
Yes.
So at that point, you're still in church, right?
Oh, yeah.
You're
very
still in
much
church.
Active.
Okay.
Yes.
So you are, your relationship with God has grown at this point, and you're depending on him more and that sort of thing. How are you doing now being divorced and still without children?
So the one part of the divorce came because I was like, I do want to have children, and we're not in a good place. And if I want to, we're going to have to. He wasn't willing to work on it, and I was still fighting, literally going to counseling just by myself. And I had a stranger telling his story. His story on a train, his story, and it was parallel to mine.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, Lord, because he will use people to tell you when you have to let go, because I still want to have a baby, because I'm only 40. I still want to have a baby. I don't want to be divorced. And this stranger telling his story parallel to mine, I said, okay, Lord. My first lady, she was like, well, you know, we don't advocate divorce, but I need you to be okay, and I need you to trust God. He also used a friend to say, but he's waiting on you to let it go so he can bless you. And I wanted these children, so I let go. He, again, wasn't willing to fight, and I was like, okay, now I'm going to be divorced. For me, that was failure because I come from divorced parents. And so I fought as long as I could because I didn't want to be a divorcee like my parents. But I still wanted children. So even in divorce, I said, God, you're going to restore everything. You're going to restore. So I had to trust and believe that he was going to restore it.
Okay.
So
after your divorce, just talk about at what point did you, I guess, begin to try to conceive again, right? Is that the story?
So I started dating my current husband.
Okay.
I met him maybe 3 or 4 months after
the divorce.
After the divorce.
Okay.
So separated for a year, got divorced, met my current husband like 3 or 4 months after the divorce. I got pregnant the following year.
Okay. The following
year.
And
we were already speaking of getting married.
Okay.
But of course, out of the will of God, got pregnant the first time. And so we got married because I was not going to be a single. I'm in my 40s. I'm a Christian, so I already know I'm not in his will, but he will bless whatever, and I'm going to walk in his will. So we got married. But in the midst between getting pregnant and the wedding, which was like 5 months after find out, I lost the first baby. What I now know is something called hyper super coil. It has something to do with the umbilical cord. But I didn't understand that. My doctor didn't explain it. So got married and honeymooned, got pregnant again.
Okay.
So I was pregnant within a year. No, within like 6 or 7 months of losing the first one. So January of 2012, I got pregnant again and went 7 months and went to a doctor's appointment and they couldn't find his heartbeat. And then I had to deliver him because the biblical cord had cord so much that it cut off his oxygen. And then from losing him, that's when the doctor was like, yeah, that's what happened with the other one. But you didn't explain that to me. You didn't explain that properly to me. So then we could have prevented or figured out what it was that needed to happen. So I ended up having to deliver the second child, which was hard. That was hard.
I'm sure.
But God still was in the midst, and I knew He had me. And then my last pregnancy was actually a miscarriage, and that was within like 6 or 7 months of losing the last.
So that's three babies you lost.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So that's hard.
Yes.
So I want you to talk about just, what were your emotions? I mean, I imagine what your emotions were at the time, but what were your emotions just for anybody else who can just relate to your story?
So the first pregnancy, one, being in church, being a leader in church, knowing I was not in God's will, pregnancy was not. I was not in a good space with that one. So when he passed, heartbroken because I was happy because I was able to conceive. So I know it was there.
Right. Because you hadn't been able to conceive for years.
I literally had never been pregnant with my previous husband. Never conceived. So to even be pregnant, I was like, okay, Lord, I apologize. I'm not in your will. So when I lost him, I was like, it has to be God's will because that's not what He had for me. And when we talk about specific prayers, I had only asked God to be pregnant. I wasn't specific, like, okay, I want the child to grow in my belly. Full term, be healthy.
Yeah.
I was not. I only had asked Him all these years, get me pregnant. Let me conceive. And so when I lost him, yes, heartbroken. I was like, okay, I know, but it also gave me hope. Like, oh, I'm able to conceive. Okay, Lord. Okay, I'm gonna get married. I'm gonna walk in your will. I'm gonna do what I need to.
Yeah.
Got pregnant again.
And you were how old the first time? 41 or 42?
41 when I got pregnant, so I turned 42 in the midst.
Okay.
In the midst.
And then the second child.
The second one, 42.
42.
Turned 43 when he passed.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And what was the issue with the second child again?
That was same as the first.
The first one.
It's an umbilical cord issue where it just something genetically with a umbilical cord just begins to coil, like it's just twisting like an old telephone. The old telephones, how they had that coiled line. The umbilical cord is already coiled, but this was super coiled, and that's what they kind of called it. And then we actually, after the last pregnancy, we did have genetic testing, so there was something in our genetics also that was probably causing it.
Got you.
But I didn't go any further.
Okay.
With the genetics after that.
Right.
So yes.
And then after your second loss, how much longer after that did you get pregnant again?
So I delivered my second child. His name was Jonathan. In July. So by February of the next year, I was pregnant again.
So these are all like your early to mid 40s during this point.
Yes.
Okay. And did you know the gender of each of them? The Jonathan and
Christian was the first. So both were boys.
Okay.
And I had asked God for boys. So I've always wanted boys. And so both of them were boys. Don't know the last because that was a miscarriage. That was super early. Like couldn't find a fetal heartbeat, any of that. And the doctor, who I should have fired, but I didn't fire him to after he was like, it's not viable. And so to actually go through a miscarriage was hard after conceiving two and and Jonathan was hard also. I think I was out of work for a month or so, but I never really grieved because I knew God had a plan. I was sad because I wanted him, and I was like, okay, God, I mustn't pray. I didn't pray correctly. I still wasn't specific. That's what I kept saying. Because I trust God. So I'm like, I know there's a reason I have to trust you. So I trusted him, and I believed. Yes, was sad, but I trust God completely. Completely. At least with that, I haven't. But so, but I still have my moments. July is not a good month for me because both Christian and Jonathan, I had were taken at that time. So,
wow.
So even today,
It's still hard.
Yes.
So you said that you felt like your prayers weren't specific enough, right? I want you to kind of talk about that more, because when I think about prayer, I know that, God does want us to be specific, but sometimes his grace and his mercy and his love so covers us that we don't always have to pray so specific. Yes. He just will give us the desires of our heart, the desires that he's placed there. Yes. So at what point did you get to a place of, maybe it was more than me not having specific prayers. Maybe this was somehow just, it didn't happen for me. So, how did you work through that?
I really think after John, I had to realize that that's not his plan for me. And remember, I wanted 2 boys. So my second husband already has 2 boys. I didn't have to raise them. They were grown. They came to me grown. So I had to end up beginning to go, you gave me what I asked for. You didn't give me what I asked for the way I asked for it, but you gave me what I asked for. I have 2 boys. And again, I had to raise them. I had to go through the teenage years. There's still some trials because they were 22 and 25 when I met them. And now they're in their 30s, and coming in as a stepmom, but and living in 2 states, but they've always been respectful. So it's just, yes, my plan, again, because we as humans are always planning things. And I don't know the scripture, but I know it's in Proverbs.
I think many are plans in a man's heart, or something like that.
And I know it's in 16, and I know, but I was like, we can plan all we want. Because my other thing was, I had already told God, if you don't have me pregnant before 40, you can forget it.
I remember you told me that, right?
And he's like, okay, I got you. Divorce at 40, pregnant at 41. He said, okay, keep planning. Okay. You said you trust me. You said, okay. So, like, nope. And sometimes we already know our trials are not for us. The testimony is not for us, because in the midst of me losing 2 of my dearest friends have gone through that. Like, one of them is older, so she could minister to me. She could be there for me. Yeah. And then one is 2 years younger. She went through several miscarriages. She lost, I think the year after I lost Jonathan, she was going through it. And I went to the same hospital where I had to deliver Jonathan, where she had to deliver hers. Walked in the hall, walked past the room, go sit with her. Her mother literally had to say, Jaconda will not rest until you leave. And they had to ask me, not being mean, she just knew her daughter needed to, because she was worried about me. And I said, she doesn't have to worry about me. But I respect it. And I had to end up leaving. So our testimonies, our trials are not always for us. Is that easy? No. It's not easy at all, it's not all about us.
It's not all about us. That's a word. So it's not all about us, and the way that we may want something may not be the way that God has for us, right? That's so important to keep in mind, because sometimes we can curse God if we're not careful.
Yes.
And we can say things like, God, why? Like, why? Not why. We can ask God why. I don't think he minds that. But when we begin to just say that God doesn't know what he's doing with this plan, like, God, I know this is your plan, but you don't know what you're doing. Then at that point,
when we start questioning,
we've kind of superseded, his authority, and we have to get to a place of contentment, and just like you said, trusting God that he knows what he's doing.
Yes.
And like you said, it's not easy.
It's not easy. I can't say, at 40, so about 45, and I had a church member, old church, say, don't give up, because she was like, you're going to have this baby. I visually couldn't see it, and I mentally couldn't handle it. I was like, we went through the genetic testing, and my husband's like, I got you. In his mind, he didn't say that to me. He's not, but he didn't really want to do the genetic. We got the results. And I was like, do you really? He's like, I don't really want to come back. And I was like, I don't know if I have the mental capacity to go through another pregnancy. But this church member, she was like, you're going to get pregnant. I didn't see it. I couldn't feel it. And I said, I'm just going to be content where I am. And again, I'm like, I got what I got. Oh, I got two. I got two sons. He gave me what I asked for. Gave me, I also think of Hannah in the midst of, before I was pregnant, in the midst of getting pregnant, I always related to Hannah. And you know how she prayed and all of that. That was who I was at the time.
Yeah.
And now, only in the last couple of years, I'm like, nope, Hannah's not my story anymore. And I'm walking into my Esther time. I'm trying to walk into my Esther time, like for a time like this, because again, without it, I wouldn't be sitting here right now. I wouldn't have a story, because it would just be a normal life. But I have a story. I have a testimony, and again, it may help somebody to keep pushing. Like I said to you at one point, you keep pushing. If God has given it to you, you don't give up. Don't be me. I just, I'm like at 45, I'm like, okay, Lord, I'm about to be 50 in a couple of years. I'm ready to travel. But I think if I was still in like my 30s or right at 40, I keep pushing. But even if it wasn't, if I really trusted him, I would have kept pushing. So then it goes back, did I really have the trust that he would do it? And I, as much as I trust him, I don't know if I trusted him that much that to help me through the mental part of it.
The mental part.
Yes.
And yeah, because it gets hard.
Yes.
It gets hard, and I don't know if I want to say in the Christian community or just women in general. I don't know, but I don't know if we talk about it enough, those of us who may not be able to conceive as easily as others. I don't know if we have conversations enough around that, because when we can have those conversations, it can be the conversations to push us and to keep going and to grow in your faith in God. And I can say that I have a community.
Okay.
Right? Even you're a part of that community. I actually have people around me that encourage me often, that I know are praying for me. And when I do have moments where I am low, because I have those moments where I'm like, God, you said this how many years ago and it hasn't happened yet? I have those moments, but I'm always reminded that he's got me. But I know that my community is that reminder as well.
And you need that community. Yeah. Community is important. Yeah. We're just learning as community is important. And you need to have them. Those that understand the plight. Like I said, I had those other two women that understood it. And we don't have our own physical children. Our husbands have them, and we're married, but we don't have ones that God has birthed us, and we are walking testimonies that He'll keep us, even in those unsane times. He's kept us, because otherwise we would be in a corner somewhere. I'm not in a corner.
Right.
I'm not in a corner.
Right.
I'm not in a corner today.
That's right.
Even in July, when I feel like it, it's temporary. It's only for a moment. And I'm in therapy for other things, and we talk about that. And she's like, embrace it. Embrace the time so you can embrace that feeling. And you embrace it. But we know God has us. So
That's good.
I'm gonna embrace that God has us.
Yeah. That's good. That's good. And we have to be willing to face those emotions, like embracing, like when July comes, like, okay, God, you already know July is about to come. I need you, you know, and being able to just face the fact that I'm just gonna have moments, but I know I'm good because God's got me. I've been learning that recently, just with some people that I've recently lost, in my life. Just attending a funeral yesterday. I'm just like, Lord, I need you. If all I got is a Lord, I need you.
Yes.
That's enough. And God knows.
And remember, sometimes it's just a moan.
Right.
You don't even, sometimes you just
Right.
can't
You can't
articulate words out
Yep.
at all.
Mm-hmm.
It's a drop of a tear, as I,
Mm-hmm.
it's
Mm-hmm.
a sigh. It's, He knows.
He knows.
He knows.
Yes, yes. So, yeah, just sometimes we just gotta just breathe.
Yep.
Like, I know I'm having a moment right now, and God knows I'm having a moment.
Yes.
He's giving me these emotions, right? And I don't want to avoid what I'm feeling. Because sometimes when we avoid how we feel, it just builds up. And
it becomes other things.
Yes.
And He doesn't want us to do that. He wants us to come in, but He also wants us to be okay with those emotions. Because He gave it to us. He also gave us those emotions.
Yeah.
And that's when the time you sit there like, okay, I don't know. I don't have any words for you. But feel the presence, feel the angel. Like sometimes I have to be like, angel, just hug me. You know, and as much as we love our husband, they don't always understand as a woman. Because also we're black women who we've been raised. Children are important in our lives, and we want to conceive our own. Yes, there are children out there that need to be adopted, but we want to conceive our own.
Yeah.
I want to see a little me running around.
Right.
Looks like me.
Looks like me.
Look like me and my husband. You want that. Like in some cultures, like in Africa, they really are down on those women that can't. And I've watched so many African movies, and I'm like, mother-in-law's like, well, she's no good. We'll get you another one. I'm like, I'm glad I don't live in that society.
Right, Lord.
And we talking about these people like, yeah, Lord, I need you to send him another woman. No.
Right.
No,
right.
that's not.
Yeah.
Okay, Lord, thank you. I thank you that my mother-in-laws both didn't get rid of me. And they knew for themselves that God had the situation settled. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So now, where you are today, talk about your relationship with God and just how He has just brought you so far in that area.
Okay. In just with the not being having a, and as I said, there's sometimes there's moments. There's moments, and then He shows me other ways. In no time, like this July, I've got to celebrate my youngest grandchild.
Okay.
During that hardest week, she turned 1, and they decided to have the birthday party at our house.
Okay.
So I did have to tell the mother, who doesn't really know my story or anything, that if I disappear for a little while, just know that it's because I need to take the moment out. And my son made sure that he took care of the kids because my husband wanted to babysit after the party. But we planned for the party. But there's moments, and I've had to learn, and it's just that do it all. God's had me the whole time. If I sit back and think about the goodness of God, He's had me the whole time. I learned a couple of years ago, my first retreat I ever went to, the process. And that, God knows everything we're going to go through. If we go left, He's already written it out way before what we're going to go through. So I think about the process, some of my decisions I've made. This is why I'm where I am today. But He's had me. He's not forsaken me. And only today can I say, fully trust Him, fully know. I remember PL said on one of the prayer calls, first time he ever prophesied on, he was like, He has you covered on all sides. And I'm looking at the phone like, huh? Okay. Minister Lynn called, and she's screaming. I'm like, why are you screaming? And I'm like, and then it hit me on all sides. Because there was a lot going on in my house. On all sides I'm covered. I'm like, oh, on all sides. And he brought you to breakthrough remembrance, and I've had you covered on all sides. Never left me. So it, and again, I go back to, he gave me what I asked for. I have 2 sons. So, yes, there's moments that I say, I wish I could have, but I knew mentally I couldn't. But you gave me, I thank you, Lord. You've given me what I asked for. 2 sons, and now I'm a nana.
And now you're a nana.
Now I'm a nana.
So talk about that. What is it like having your 2 sons? And when I sent you these questions, I put stepmother initially, but then I said, or mother, if that's preferred, yes. Right? So what is it like having your 2 sons and also being a nana?
Having my 2 sons have been great. Again, I didn't have to raise them, so they came in as respectful young men, and I told their mother when I first met them, because I have met her, of course, several times, and they lived in Virginia, so only one lives with me now, the other one's still in Virginia, living his life, that I thank you for raising respectful men. And to a point on her own, because my husband lived here in Maryland, was living his life, and she was in Virginia.
Okay.
But trust me, they were here every holiday, every summer, and he did his job.
Did his part.
Respectful men. They've always respected me. They both were in the wedding, and they love me. And I can't ask for more, because some stepmothers don't have that. I was not the best stepchild. My stepfather. Right. So I was like, oh, Lord, am I going to get back what I gave? Because we do get back what we give.
So, right? Yeah.
And then I also we're not that far apart. Like, yes, I'm 50, in my 50s. They're in their 30s. And I've known them since they was 22. So it was more of a friend, because their father is strict, and I came in. I'm a lot younger than my husband, too. So we see things, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm not your parent, not your biological parent, so we're going to talk as friends, so I'm very direct.
Okay.
And sometimes they're like, okay, Miss Phoelicia, you're a little over the top. Even their girlfriends, they're like, did you really say that to me? Yes. You want to be grown, so we're going to talk as grown-ups. But it's been a great experience. It's been a great experience that I've got to at least experience their 20s and their 30s, seen heartbreak, seen happiness in them. The youngest is the one that has the 2 children, and then his current girlfriend has already had a child, so we have another one. So my bonus. So, and I've seen him mature over the time. He's always been mature. He's always been working, college graduate, all of that. But I've seen him come from 20s into his 30s, become a father, have to deal with the firstborn not being with that mother and not being able. So I've seen that in that child, him not being able to see that child every day. So have to make arrangements to see him, because the mother, she lives in Florida now.
Okay.
She's doing a phenomenal job. I got to actually visit them 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Okay.
But being a nana is great, because they can go home. Like, oh, you get to come see Nana when? Okay, yeah. But then you get to go home.
You get to go home.
I can give you all the candy you want. Oh, you're too young. Oh, okay. You're only 1. Oh, you can't have this candy. Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah, but being a nana, and they have their other grandmothers, and they all have their different names. And when Aiden's the firstborn, he's the 8-year-old. I was like, well, I need a name, because being the stepmother, when you already both mothers are still alive, I'm like, oh, I need a name.
Yeah.
And it really is Nana Fee. Okay. But they can't say all.
They can't say the whole thing.
They like, look, I'm just gonna say Nana at this point.
Okay.
But I wanted it. You're not saying Noni. You not saying. You are saying Nana, and then my name is is Nana Fee. It's like, yeah, it's like I can only get Nana at this part. Now I'm like,
we'll give him a few years.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, Aiden, I think he can say it.
Okay.
'Cause, he's 8. He can say a whole lot. But he's still like, nope, Nana. Yeah. So, but it's great. It's great because then I get to see them grow up.
Yeah.
I get to discipline as much as their parents are like, but it's a different generation. So I still also have to respect how they want them disciplined. But I'm like, okay, yeah. But it's been wonderful.
And what are the ages of your grandbabies?
So 8.
8.
I think Michaela is 3.
Okay.
I hope. And then Michaela, and then Micaiah.
Okay.
Is 1.
Is 1.
Yes.
So that's 1 boy and 2 girls.
Yes.
1 boy and 2 girls.
And I'm a boy mom.
Okay.
And I love my granddaughters, but
okay.
my firstborn is
right. Yeah.
Because again, I'm boys. I'm team boy all day. I'm like, yeah.
Okay.
But it's good to have my husband loves all of them.
Yeah.
But he's team girl. He's like,
team
I got
girl.
boys.
Okay. Right.
I raise boys.
Right.
I want to spoil girls.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh yeah, they're gonna be wrapped around. they wrapped around his
It's
finger.
something about those dads, those
Yes.
granddads with those girls.
Yes.
I tell you.
Yes.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, what about you talked about contentment. You talked about how God has helped you to, when you look back now, you can just say God knew He was there all along, right?
Yes.
What advice would you have for that young lady that's grappling with that, though? That lady who, or maybe she's not young, because society, when you turn 40, apparently that's not young anymore. But any lady in her 20s, 30s, 40s, maybe even 50s who hasn't conceived yet but desires to, and it's hard for them to really come to terms with contentment in their life. What advice would you have for them?
First, hopefully you have a relationship with God. Secondly, hopefully you have a community that can lift you up on those times when it's not easy. And that one person that's your cheerleader that's saying, continue to push. Get the test. Get the test. Stay prayed up about it. But if God says you are going to have this child, we have to remember Sarah. She was 100 years old. And I kept saying that, but I also said, I don't want to be Sarah, Lord. I don't want to do that. So again, me making plans. And he's like, okay. So sometimes he will shut the dream down because you like, okay, you going to really be honest with God. Make sure you hear him. Listen to every direction he's giving you. Every instruction, obey it. Even if it sounds real crazy, but believe and trust he knows better than you do. Because he does. But if he gave it to you, trust it. Because we know his promises are yes and amen.
Yes and amen. Yeah.
So if he promised you, you've seen it, trust it. I can't tell you how it's going to come, because I don't think I ever imagined after divorcing that I would be pregnant and that I would have sons. And again, I have to raise them. I'm like, okay, that works for me. That works for me, because it's going to come not how you expect it and when you expect it. But keep Hannah as a person when you praying and knowing that God has it. And keep Sarah like, oh, if he promised it to me way back then, he said it's going to happen, and you've seen it, then it's going to happen.
Yeah.
I'm not going to interject anybody. I'm definitely not going to do like her and interject no other woman. I'm going to walk in what God has told me. If he means I got to lose 20 pounds because he's going to give you instructions, follow them.
Follow them. Yeah.
Follow them. But listen, all those distractions, make sure you hear him clearly. Write them down, and then follow them.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Well, this has been a great conversation, Phoelicia. You definitely encouraged me in this conversation, so I appreciate you for that. And again, for all the women out there who, are in Phoelicia's shoes or maybe some of you know my story, some of you don't. I am currently in a season of waiting for children, and I know that it's going to happen. It's just going to happen in God's timing. And I don't want to be Sarah at 99, 100. Trust me, I don't. But listen, I am trusting God's timing, so I encourage all the women out there, trust God's. I keep hitting this microphone today. Trust God's timing. He knows what he's doing. And like Phoelicia said, if he gives you instructions, eat better, work out, whatever, obey, because that's going to be a part of the process.
Change doctors.
Change doctors. I had to do that. Yes. Yeah. So thank you, Phoelicia. Was there anything else you wanted to say?
No.
You good?
I think I'm good.
Okay. 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 Well, like I said, this has definitely been a great conversation. I was going to encourage women out there. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in today to this episode. Be sure to share with others that can relate, that they may be blessed and encouraged. And also like this episode, leave a comment letting us know something that stood out today. And also subscribe to the channel, Breakthrough Conversations, if you haven't already. In the meantime, everyone, enjoy your day and be blessed.